The council chamber floated in space above Veltara Prime, a world of endless gardens and crystal seas. Inside the massive dome, representatives from 47 species sat in their designated seats. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had wings, others had tentacles. But they all shared one thing in common. They were all afraid of humans. Ambassador Velnith spread his feathered wings and called the session to order. His beak clicked twice, the traditional signal for silence. The chamber fell quiet. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing data files marked with red warning symbols. Each file bore the same label: Earth, Human Quarantine Review. We gather today to discuss humanity's petition for full galactic membership, Velnith announced. His voice carried through translation devices to every species present. They have waited 30 years. The question before us is simple. Are they ready to join civilized society? A reptilian counselor from Thessa Prime stood. Her scales shimmered under the chamber lights. They are not civilized. They are predators. Look at their world. The holographic display changed. It showed Earth rotating slowly in space, blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. It looked beautiful, but the data beside it told a different story. Class 12 Deathworld, the Thessan continued. The highest danger rating possible. Gravity 1.2 times standard. Temperature swings of 100 degrees. Toxic oxygen atmosphere, supervolcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, ice ages, mass extinctions. This planet has tried to kill everything on it for 4 billion years. Another counselor spoke up. This one was a floating crystalline being from the methane clouds of Velstar. And the humans evolved there. They survived it. That alone makes them dangerous, Velnith nodded slowly. Captain Hyun of the Earth Defense Fleet is present as an observer. Perhaps we should hear from him directly. All eyes turned to the human section of the chamber. Captain Hyun stood up. He was tall for his species, with gray hair cut short and a scar running down the left side of his face. He wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations except a single silver pin in the shape of Earth. He looked tired, older than his 45 years, but his eyes were calm. Members of the council, Hyun said in clear galactic standard, I understand your concerns. We are different. We come from a hard world. We are stronger than most species because of our gravity. We heal faster. We tolerate more pain. We eat things that would poison you. We have weapons you call primitive, but we call effective. A murmur ran through the chamber. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. 30 years ago, our merchant ship encountered pirates attacking a Veltaran vessel, Hyun continued. We tried to help. We fired kinetic weapons, solid metal projectiles. We disabled the pirate ship, but our weapons also damaged the Veltaran ship. 3 crew members died from decompression before we could save them. He paused. His jaw tightened slightly. We did not know your ships were so fragile. We did not know our help would cause harm. We have spent 30 years learning, studying, trying to understand the galaxy we wish to join. We have stayed in our sector.
We have followed every rule of the quarantine.
We ask only for a chance to prove ourselves, the Thessan counselor hissed. You ask us to trust predators. Your instincts are to hunt, to kill, to fight. Yes, Hyun said simply. Earth made us that way. But Earth also taught us something else. We had to work together to survive. Humans alone die quickly on Earth. Groups survive. Communities survive. We learn to protect each other, to help each other. We call it being human. Velnith studied the human captain carefully. There was something unsettling about his calmness. Most species would show anger or frustration at being rejected for 30 years. Hyun showed neither. Just quiet patience, the council will vote, Velnith announced. All in favor of granting humanity full membership? 3 hands rose, 3 out of 47. All in favor of extending the quarantine for another 10 years? 44 hands rose. Velnith turned to Captain Hyun. I am sorry. The council has decided. The quarantine continues, Hyun nodded once. We understand your fear. We will wait. He sat down without another word. Commander Jia, sitting beside him, leaned close. Captain, this is unfair. We have done everything they asked. They are afraid, Hyun said quietly. Fear does not listen to logic. Across the chamber, other counselors were already moving on to the next topic. The human question was settled, for another decade at least. But then the alarms started. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. A warning siren wailed. Emergency protocols activated automatically. sealing the chamber doors and activating defense shields around the station. Velnith's communication device chirped frantically. He listened for a moment, his feathers standing on end. His beak opened and closed several times before he could speak. "We have received a distress call," he said, his voice shaking. "From Talveen." The chamber exploded with noise. Species shouted in a dozen different languages. Talveen was known throughout the galaxy as Heaven's Garden. The Talveeni were artists and healers. They had no military, no weapons. They had never needed any. The galaxy loved them. "What is the nature of the emergency?" the Thessan counselor demanded. Velnith touched his display. The hologram changed. It showed a Talveeni broadcast. The being on screen was glowing with bioluminescent patterns of pure terror. Behind them, buildings burned. "Unknown ships in orbit," the Talveeni gasped. "They are firing on our cities. They are not responding to communication. They are just killing. Millions are dead. Please, anyone who can hear this, please help us." The transmission cut to static. The chamber fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "How far is Talveen from here? Who is attacking them? What forces do we have available?" Velnith pulled up tactical displays. "The attackers have been identified. Kreshova swarm. Machine intelligence from beyond the rim. They harvest organic matter for fuel." The Thessan counselor's scales turned pale. "Kreshova use harvester ships. They strip worlds clean. If they are on Talveen, how long until we can assemble a defense fleet?" Someone called out. Velnith consulted with military advisors. 4 weeks minimum. 6 species have pledged ships, but they are spread across the galaxy. How long does Talveen have? A long pause. 8 days. Maybe less. The chamber filled with hopeless silence. Everyone understood what that meant. By the time help arrived, Talveen would be a dead world. Velnith looked at the tactical map. His eyes widened slightly. The human quarantine zone borders Talveeni space. A human fleet could reach them in 5 days. Every species in the chamber turned to look at Captain Hyun. The human sat quietly, already reading the tactical data on his personal display. He seemed to be calculating distances and fleet movements. "Captain Hyun," Velnith said slowly, "the Council cannot order you to help. You are not members. You owe the Talveeni nothing. You owe us nothing, especially after our vote today, but—" He could not finish the sentence. Hyun stood up. He pulled out his communication device and sent a single message to Commander Kwan at the border station. Then he looked at Velnith. "Fleet is moving," Hyun said. "We will be at Talveen in 5 days. "Hyun out." He walked toward the exit. Commander Jia followed him. The council chamber sat in stunned silence. No negotiation, no demands, no price for their help. The humans were just going. Velnith watched them leave. For the first time in 30 years, he wondered if the council had been wrong about humanity. Outside the chamber, Jia spoke urgently. "Captain, we only have 12 ships in that sector. The Kreshova will outnumber us badly." Hyun kept walking toward their transport ship. "I know. We might not survive this, I know. Then why are we going?" Hyun stopped. He looked at his second officer. "Because someone called for help. That is what humans do." The transport lifted off, heading for the human fleet waiting at the border. Behind them, the council scrambled to send support that would arrive too late. In 5 days, the galaxy would learn what Deathworlders really meant. The EDF Incheon hung in space at the edge of human territory. It was the flagship of the border fleet, a warship built in the orbital yards above Seoul. 300 meters long, armed with weapons the galaxy considered outdated by 1,000 years. But Captain Hyun knew something the galaxy had forgotten. Old weapons still killed. He stood on the bridge watching the tactical displays as the rest of the fleet assembled. 11 more ships appeared on the screen as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Seoul, the Busan, the Gwangju, and 9 others. 12 ships total. 8,000 human crew and soldiers. Commander Geo worked at the tactical station. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls. "Fleet is assembled, Captain. All ships report ready. Time to Talveen? 4 days, 18 hours at maximum speed." Hyun nodded. "Send the coordinates." All ships jump in formation. The fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving the human border behind. Inside the Incheon, crew members moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for combat 1,000 times. Now it was real. In the main briefing room, Hyun gathered his senior officers. The room was simple and functional. Metal walls, basic chairs, a large display table in the center. No decorations. No comfort. This was a warship. Officer Sung stood at the display table, pulling up data on the HFY swarm. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and scars on his hands from his years as a ground soldier. Now he planned battles instead of fighting in them. This is what we know about the HFY, Sung began. The display showed images of biomechanical ships. They looked like insects made of metal and flesh. Machine intelligence, but with biological components. They came from beyond our galaxy thousands of years ago. The galactic species fought them once and barely won. Since then, the HFY have stayed away. Until now. Why attack Talveen? Gia asked. Resources. The Talveeni have a population of 12 million. All organic. The HFY harvest organic matter and convert it to fuel for their ships. They are not invading. They are feeding. A heavy silence filled the room. Chief Hana spoke up from the corner. She was the ship's chief engineer, a woman who could fix anything and build weapons from spare parts. What about their defenses? Sung changed the display. Adaptive armor. It learns from energy weapons and develops resistance within minutes. Most galactic species use plasma cannons, ion beams, laser batteries, all energy-based. The HFY adapted to them centuries ago, but not to kinetic weapons, Hyun said quietly. Sung smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. No, Captain. The galaxy considers ballistic weapons primitive, inefficient, barbaric. The HFY have not encountered them in combat for 1,000 years. Hana stood up and walked to the display. She pulled up schematics of human weapons, railguns that fired solid metal slugs using electromagnetic acceleration, missile systems with explosive warheads, chemical rockets, projectile cannons. We have been upgrading our arsenal for 30 years, Hana said. While the galaxy debated whether to let us join, we built weapons. The Incheon alone carries 8 railgun batteries, 40 missile tubes, and 60-point defense cannons. Every ship in the fleet is armed similarly. Dr. Bora, the ship's xenobiologist, looked uncomfortable. She was a civilian scientist who had joined the fleet to study alien life. She never expected to see war. What about the Talveeni civilians? They are extremely fragile. Their biology cannot handle stress like ours can. That is why you are here, Doctor, Hyun said. We will need medical protocols for Talveeni survivors. Work with the medical teams. Prepare for mass casualties. Bora nodded, her face pale but determined. Sung brought up a tactical map of the Talveen system. Intelligence estimates the HFY have at least 100 harvester ships in orbit. Each harvester is twice the size of our largest vessel. They also have 300 smaller ships serving as fighters and interceptors. So we are outnumbered 25-1. Gia said calmly. Yes. Good odds for a Tuesday, she added with a slight smile. A few officers laughed. Dark humor was a human trait. It helped with fear. Hyun studied the map. We cannot fight the traditional way. Galactic doctrine says stay at range, exchange fire, minimize risk. That will not work. The HFY will overwhelm us with numbers. Then we use Protocol Typhoon, Sung suggested. The room fell quiet. Protocol Typhoon was a close-quarters combat strategy. It meant flying directly into enemy formations, fighting at knife-fighting range where shields overlapped and explosions could damage multiple ships. It was considered suicidal by every military academy in the galaxy, but humans had written it specifically for fighting superior numbers. We go in fast and hard, Hyun said. We target their harvester ships first. Each harvester we destroy is thousands of Talveeni saved. We use railguns to punch through their armor before they can adapt. We use nuclear missiles at point-blank range. Nuclear weapons are banned by Galactic Convention, Bora said quietly. We are not members of the Galactic Convention, Hyun replied, and conventions do not help the dead. We use every weapon we have. He looked around the room at his officers. They were young and old, men and women from every continent on Earth. Korea, Japan, America, Africa, Europe. But they were all human. All from the same death world that had forged them into survivors. We will take casualties, Hyun continued. Ships will be lost. People will die. But we are going anyway. If anyone wants to object, speak now. Nobody spoke. Good. Return to your stations. Prepare your crews. We arrive at Talveen in 4 days. Make them count, the officers filed out. Gia stayed behind with Hyun. Captain, I need to ask, why are we doing this? The council rejected us today. They fear us. They have kept us isolated for 30 years. We owe them nothing. Hyun walked to the viewport. Through the thick glass, he could see the stars streaming past as the ship traveled through hyperspace. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. 20 years ago, my wife and daughter were on that merchant ship, he said quietly. The one that accidentally killed the Veltaran crew. They survived, but they saw the faces of the people we tried to save. They saw the fear, the hatred. My daughter was 8 years old and an entire galaxy called her a monster. Gia waited silently. We could have gotten angry. We could have turned our backs on the galaxy. We could have said they deserved their fate for rejecting us. Hyun turned to face his first officer. But my wife said something that day. She said being human means helping even when people fear you, especially when they fear you, because that is how you prove fear wrong. Your family was wise. My family died in a shuttle accident 5 years ago, but I still remember her words. Gia bowed her head slightly in respect. The crew will fight well, Captain. Not just for the Talvini, for you. They fight because they are human. That is enough. Over the next 4 days, the fleet prepared. In the armory, soldiers checked rifles and loaded magazines with ammunition. Simple bullets made of metal propelled by chemical explosives. Technology Earth had used for 500 years. But effective. Always effective. In engineering, Hana and her teams modified the ships. They reinforced armor. They jury-rigged additional weapon mounts. They prepared electromagnetic pulse devices that would fry Kreshva electronics. In medical, Bora studied Talvini physiology. Their bodies were bioluminescent, delicate, with nervous systems far more sensitive than human systems. She prepared medications and treatments, hoping she would have survivors to use them on. On the bridge, Sung ran combat simulations. Every scenario ended with heavy human casualties, but in most scenarios they saved Talvin. That would have to be enough. Hyun spent time walking through the ship. He visited every deck, every station. He spoke with young ensigns on their first deployment and old veterans who had served for 20 years. He thanked them for their service. He did not promise them victory. He did not promise them survival. He only promised them that their sacrifice would matter. On the 4th day, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Talvin system. The tactical displays lit up with enemy contacts. Red markers filled the screen. Hundreds of them, Kreshva ships confirmed, Gia reported. Count is, Captain, there are over 200 harvester ships. Intelligence was wrong. Hyun studied the display. The Kreshva had brought their entire fleet. They were not just attacking Talvin. They were consuming it. On the planet below, cities burned. Escape ships tried to flee and were shot down by Kreshva interceptors. Millions were already dead. All ships, Hyun said calmly into the fleet channel. Protocol Typhoon. Let them see what a death world breeds. The 12 human ships accelerated toward an enemy fleet 20 times their size. The Battle of Talvin had begun. The EDF Sol opened fire first. 8 railgun batteries spoke simultaneously, launching tungsten slugs at 3% of light speed. The projectiles crossed the distance in seconds. They hit a Kreshva harvester ship dead center, punching through its adaptive armor like it was paper. The harvester tried to adjust. Its biological systems analyzed the impact, searching for energy signatures to adapt to. But there was no energy, just solid metal moving impossibly fast. The ship's armor had no defense for it. A second volley hit, then a third. The harvester broke apart, pieces spinning into space. Inside it, thousands of captured Talvini died instantly, but hundreds of thousands more on the planet below were given a few more minutes to live. Target destroyed, GA called out from her station, reassigning batteries to Target 2. Captain Hyun stood at the center of the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. He looked calm, but his eyes tracked every ship, every weapon, every movement. All vessels maintain formation. Launch missiles on my mark. The human fleet drove deeper into the Kreshva swarm. The Seoul, Busan, and Gwangju formed the tip of the spear. The other 9 ships followed in a tight wedge formation. It was suicide by galactic standards, but humans had learned something important on Earth. When prey runs, predators chase. When prey attacks, predators hesitate. The Kreshva hesitated. Mark, Hyun said quietly. 40 ships fired missiles simultaneously, not the clean energy torpedoes used by galactic fleets. These were nuclear-tipped warheads wrapped in chemical explosives. Primitive, barbaric, banned by civilized society. The missiles streaked toward the harvester ships. HFY interceptors tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield. Nuclear fire consumed harvester after harvester. The HFY armor could adapt to energy. It could not adapt to the heart of a star. 16 confirmed kills, Sung reported. HFY are reforming. They are beginning to respond. Good, Hyun said. That means they are focusing on us instead of the planet. The HFY fleet turned. 300 ships redirected their attention to the 12 human vessels. Weapons charged. Harvesting beams that could strip flesh from bone activated. All ships, evasive pattern gamma, Hyun ordered. Make them work for every shot. The human ships scattered and danced through space. They used thrusters in ways the galactic species could not. Because human pilots trained in high gravity. Because human reflexes evolved dodging predators. Because Deathworld instincts made them better at not dying. The EDF Busan took a direct hit from a harvester beam. The shield collapsed. Hull plating melted. But Chief Hana's modifications held. The Busan kept firing even as its outer hull burned away. Busan reports heavy damage, Jia said. They are venting atmosphere on deck 7 through 9. Tell them to fall back to second line, Hyun ordered. Busan says negative. They are still combat effective. Hyun allowed himself a small smile. Stubborn. That was human too. On the planet below, Talvini civilians watched the battle in the sky. They saw the small human ships darting through the massive HFY fleet. They saw explosions. They saw human vessels taking fire but refusing to retreat. They did not understand. The galaxy had taught them that humans were monsters. But monsters did not die to save others. Commander Jia's tactical display showed a critical situation developing. 5 harvester ships were descending toward the capital city. 500,000 Talvini still lived there, trapped in shelters. Captain, harvesters breaking off to target the capital. If they reach atmosphere, I see them. Yun turned to his pilot. Helm intercept course, maximum acceleration. The Incheon broke formation and dove toward the planet. The ship shook as engines pushed past safety limits. In engineering, Hana watched temperature gauges climb into the red. She did not reduce power. Railguns continuous fire, Yun commanded. Don't let those ships reach the surface. The Incheon positioned itself between the harvesters and the planet. It was 1 ship against 5. The railguns fired non-stop. Barrels overheated and had to be cycled. But they kept firing. Solid slugs hammered into the harvesters. 2 harvesters exploded. A third took critical damage and veered off. But the last 2 kept coming. They are not stopping, Jia said. Impact with city in 90 seconds. Hyun made a decision. Helm ram the lead ship. Full power. The bridge crew turned to look at him. Ramming was a suicide tactic. But Jia understood immediately. All hands brace for impact. Seal emergency doors. The Incheon accelerated directly at the harvester. At the last second, Hyun gave another order. All crew abandon forward sections. Everyone to aft compartments now. Crew members ran through corridors. They sealed bulkheads behind them. The forward third of the ship was evacuated in 45 seconds. The Incheon hit the harvester at full speed. Metal screamed. The harvester's hull crumpled. The Incheon's forward section was completely destroyed, but the ship's spine held. The momentum carried both vessels away from the planet. Inside the Incheon, emergency systems screamed. Atmosphere vented from torn hull sections. Fires burned in a dozen compartments. But the ship was still intact. Still fighting. Damage report, Hyun called out, pulling himself up from where the impact had thrown him. Forward sections destroyed, Hana reported, her voice shaking. We lost 60 crew in the impact. Railguns 1 through 4 are offline, but we are still here. The 5th harvester. Jia checked her display. The Soul destroyed it. The capital is safe, Hyun nodded. 60 dead. But 500,000 saved. The math was brutal. But necessary, Captain, Sung called out. HFY are changing tactics. They are targeting our damaged ships specifically. Hyun understood. The HFY intelligence had analyzed the battle. They realized humans did not abandon their wounded, so they would use that against them. All damaged vessels withdraw to defensive perimeter, Hyun ordered. Healthy ships cover their retreat, but the Gwangju did not retreat. It positioned itself between the Busan and 3 attacking harvesters. The Gwangju's captain, a veteran named Commander Tae, opened a channel. Incheon, this is Gwangju. We are out of missiles and down to 2 railguns. But we can still fight. Gwangju, fall back, Hyun ordered. That is a direct command. With respect, Captain, the Busan has 400 wounded on board. Someone needs to cover them. Gwangju out, the channel went dead. The Gwangju fired its remaining weapons and charged the harvesters. It was not trying to win, it was buying time. The first harvester beam hit the Gwangju amidships. The second hit the engine section. The third cut the ship in half. It died in seconds. But in those seconds, the Busan and its wounded crew escaped to safety. Gwangju destroyed. Jia reported quietly. No survivors. The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then Hyun spoke. Honor their sacrifice. Continue firing. The battle raged on. Human ships darted and weaved. They fired railguns until the barrels glowed white-hot. They launched missiles until magazines were empty. They used electromagnetic pulse weapons that fried Kresheva electronics, and they died, one by one. But for every human ship lost, 10 Kresheva harvesters burned. For every human life taken, thousands of Talvini were saved. On the planet's surface, a group of human Marines landed in assault shuttles. Officer Sung had volunteered to lead a ground team to rescue Talvini, trapped in a collapsed shelter. The Marines wore powered armor and carried automatic rifles. They looked like metal giants. They found the shelter buried under rubble from Kreshva bombing. Talvini civilians huddled inside, terrified. When the Marines broke through the wall, the Talvini screamed. They had heard stories about humans, about Deathworld predators. Sung removed his helmet. He was just a man, tired, scared, but determined. We are here to help, he said in their language. Please come with us. A Talvini elder, his bioluminescence flickering with fear, stared at Sung. You are human. You are the monsters from the Deathworld. Yes, Sung said simply. We are human, and we came to save you. He extended his hand. The elder hesitated, then slowly reached out. Sung's grip was gentle despite the powered armor. The Marines evacuated 2,000 Talvini from the shelter. They carried the injured. They shielded the civilians with their own bodies when Kreshva fighters strafed their position. 3 Marines died protecting Talvini children they had never met. Back in orbit, Captain Hyun watched the tactical display. The Kreshva numbers were dropping, but so were human ships. He had started with 12. Now he had 7. The battle had been going for 16 hours straight. Captain, I am detecting a massive energy signature, Jia said suddenly. It is coming from the center of the Kreshva formation. Sung enhanced the image. A ship appeared on screen that dwarfed even the harvesters. It was 10 kilometers long, a nightmarish combination of machine and flesh. Command ship, Sung breathed. That is their command node. It is coordinating the entire fleet. Hyun studied it. If we destroy that ship, the swarm becomes disorganized. They lose coordination. We can win this. It is in the center of their formation, Jia said, protected by 50 harvester ships. We cannot get close enough to target it. Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Jia. Yes, we can. She looked at him. Then at the display. Then back at him. Understanding dawned in her eyes. Captain, no. There is no other way. The Incheon will not survive a run through that formation. Our forward section is already destroyed. The Incheon flew like a wounded bird toward the center of hell. Harvester ships swarmed around it. Energy beams cut through space. The Incheon's shields collapsed after the first hit. The second hit tore away the portside armor. The third set fires blazing through 6 decks. But the ship kept going. On the bridge, Captain Hyun gripped the arms of his command chair. Emergency lights flickered. Smoke filled the air. The ship shook with each impact. Around him, his crew worked their stations even as death surrounded them. Hull breaches on decks 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, Chief Hana reported. Her console sparked and caught fire. She beat out the flames with her jacket and kept working. Structural integrity at 40%. We will not survive another hit like that. We don't need to survive, Hyun said calmly. We just need to get close enough. The tactical display showed the distance to the command ship. 5,000 kilometers, then 4,000, then 3. Target acquired, the weapons officer said. He was bleeding from a gash on his forehead, but his hands were steady. Railguns online. Missiles armed. On my mark, Hyun said. Another harvester beam struck the Incheon. The entire ship screamed as metal tore. The life support systems failed on half the decks. Crew members died at their stations, frozen or suffocated. But the survivors kept fighting. 2,000 kilometers. 1,000. All power to forward weapons, Hyun ordered. Everything we have. Hana rerouted every system. Engines, shields, life support. Everything flowed to the railguns and missile tubes. The ship was now just a delivery system for death. 500 kilometers. The HFY command ship finally recognized the threat. It turned its massive weapons toward the approaching human vessel. Energy powerful enough to vaporize a moon charged in its forward batteries. Firing solution locked, the weapons officer said. Fire everything, Hyun commanded. The Incheon unleashed hell. 8 railgun batteries fired simultaneously. 40 missiles launched. Every weapon the ship carried spoke at once. The recoil nearly tore the damaged ship apart. The command ship's shields absorbed the first railgun impacts. But human weapons were designed for sustained fire. The second volley hit the same spots. Then the third. The shields buckled. The fourth volley punched through. Tungsten slugs moving at relativistic speeds tore into the command ship. Each impact released energy equivalent to a small nuclear bomb. The ship's biological systems tried to repair the damage. They could not keep up. The missiles followed. Nuclear warheads detonated along the command ship's spine. Conventional explosives tore at its infrastructure. Chemical weapons ate through its organic components. The command ship died slowly, its enormous bulk taking time to realize it was dead, but it had time to fire back. The HFY energy weapon hit the Incheon dead center. The beam was designed to harvest planets. It cut the human ship in half. Captain Hyun had just enough time to smile. Then the bridge vaporized around him. The two halves of the Incheon tumbled through space. Emergency pods ejected automatically, carrying a handful of survivors. 50 crew had volunteered to stay. 5 survived, but the command ship was dying. Its coordination signals went dark. Across the Talveen system, 200 HFY ships suddenly lost their collective intelligence. They became individuals, confused, disorganized. Commander Gi, now commanding the fleet from the EDF Seoul, saw her chance. All ships, target the harvesters closest to the planet. Fire at will. Show no mercy. The remaining 6 human ships fell upon the disorganized HFY like wolves on scattered sheep. Without coordination, the harvesters were vulnerable. Without the command ship, they could not adapt their tactics. The battle turned into a slaughter. But this time, the HFY were the ones being slaughtered. One by one, the harvester ships were destroyed. Some tried to flee. The human ships hunted them down. Some tried to dive toward the planet for a final harvesting. They were blown out of the sky before they reached atmosphere. It took 6 more hours, but when it was over, the HFY fleet was gone. Gia sat in the captain's chair of the Seoul, staring at the tactical display that now showed only green markers. Human ships. Talveen evacuation vessels. No more red, report, she said, her voice hollow. Officer Sung pulled up the casualty list. We lost the Incheon, Gwangju, and Daegu. The Busan is crippled beyond repair. Total casualties, 1,847 dead. 3,200 wounded. Nearly half the fleet was gone. And the Talveen? Dr. Bora answered from the medical bay. We saved 8 million. 4 million were killed before we arrived. But 8 million are alive because of us, 8 million lives. The number was too big to comprehend. But it meant that most of Talveen survived. Gia closed her eyes. Recover all survivors. Search the debris field. If anyone is alive out there, bring them home. For the next 3 days, human ships worked around the clock. They pulled survivors from escape pods. They provided medical care to wounded Talveen. They helped repair damaged shelters on the surface. Dr. Bora set up a field hospital in the capital city. Talveen, who had feared humans, watched as human medics worked 20-hour shifts saving their people. They watched humans donate blood that could be synthesized into Talveen medicine. They watched a human nurse named Minji hold a dying Talveen child and sing a lullaby until the child passed peacefully. On the 3rd day, a Talveen elder named Rilveen approached Dr. Bora. His bioluminescence was dim with exhaustion and grief. Doctor, he said quietly, we owe you a debt we can never repay. Bora looked up from the patient she was treating. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. We didn't come for payment. Then why did you come? The galaxy fears you. The council rejected you. You owed us nothing. Bora was quiet for a moment. Then she said, when I was a child on Earth, my village flooded. The water came so fast. My family was trapped in our home. We were going to die. She continued working as she spoke. A neighbor came. He was old, weak. Everyone told him not to risk it, but he came anyway. He pulled my brother out of the water. Then my sister, then me. Then the house collapsed and killed him. Bora's hands never stopped moving. I asked my mother why he did it. She said he did it because someone needed help, and he could help. That is what humans do, we help, even when it costs us. Rilvin's luminescence brightened slightly. Your Captain Hyun, he died saving us. Yes, he died for people he never met. For a species that feared him. Yes, that is not the behavior of monsters. Bora finally looked at the elder. No, that is the behavior of humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us for 200,000 years. We survived by protecting each other, by being willing to die for each other. That instinct does not care if you are human or not. If you need help, you are part of the pack. Rilvin reached out and gently touched Bora's hand. His people did not touch outsiders, but he touched her. Thank you. Thank you for showing us who you really are. In orbit, Commander GA received a transmission from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Velneth appeared on the screen. His feathers were ruffled, a sign of distress. Commander GA, the Council has been monitoring the battle. We are without words. The human fleet sacrificed itself to save Talvin. We did our duty, Gia said simply. You did more than duty. You did something we thought impossible. Captain Hyun sent us a message before his final attack. May I share it? Gia nodded. Velneth played the recording. Hyun's face appeared, calm despite the battle raging around him. Ambassador Velneth, I know you are watching. I know the Council doubts humanity, so I want to tell you what it means to be human. It means helping even when people fear you. It means protecting even when you are not wanted. It means dying so others can live. We come from Earth, a world that tried to kill us. But we survive by being pack animals, by protecting each other. Today the pack includes the Talvini. Today everyone is our pack. That is what makes us human. Hyun out, the message ended. Gia felt tears on her face. She did not wipe them away. The Council is calling an emergency session, Velneth said. We need to correct a great wrong. Will you come? I will, Gia said. But first I have to bring my people home. She closed the channel and looked out at the planet below. Talavine was scarred but alive. Its cities were damaged but rebuilding. Its people were traumatized but surviving. And they would remember. They would remember the Deathworlders who came when everyone else was too far away. Who fought when the odds were impossible. Who died so they could live. Officer Sung approached Jia on the bridge. Commander, we recovered Captain Hyun's body from the debris, and Chief Hana's and the rest of the bridge crew. Prepare them for transport. They are going home. There is something else. The Talvini want to hold a memorial service for all our dead. They want to honor them, Gia nodded. Tell them we accept. Our dead deserve to be remembered. That evening, as the sun set on Talvin's largest city, 8 million Talvini gathered. They had never held a military funeral before. They had never honored warriors before. They were a peaceful people, but tonight they learned how to salute the fallen. When the ceremony ended, a Talvini child approached a human marine. The child's bioluminescence glowed with innocent curiosity. Are you a monster? The child asked. The marine knelt down. He was young, barely 20, with scars from the battle. People say we are, but you saved us. Yes, then yo. 3 weeks after the Battle of Talvin, the Galactic Council chamber filled once again. But this time the atmosphere was different. The usual debates and political maneuvering were absent. Every representative sat in silence, waiting. Commander Jia stood where Captain Hyun had stood less than a month ago. Officer Sung stood to her right, Dr. Bora to her left. They wore their dress uniforms, dark blue with silver trim. Each uniform carried the names of the dead stitched on the inside of the jacket. A human tradition. Carry the fallen with you always. Ambassador Velneth rose from his seat. His feathers, usually bright and perfectly groomed, looked dull. He had not slept well since watching the battle recordings. Commander Jia, Velneth began, his voice carrying through the translation devices. The Galactic Council called this emergency session to address a great injustice. 30 years ago, we quarantined humanity. We called your people monsters. Deathworlders, predators, we feared what you might do. He paused, looking around at the other representatives. Then we watched what you actually did. We watched your fleet fly into certain death to save people who had rejected you. We watched Captain Hyun sacrifice his ship and his life to destroy the crash of a command node. We watched your soldiers die protecting Talavini children. The Talavini representative, Elder Rilvin, stood up. His species rarely attended council sessions, preferring to send messages instead. But he had traveled here himself. The Talvini owe humanity a debt that spans generations, Rilvin said. 8 million of my people are alive because humans chose to help. 4 million died before the humans arrived, but not one more died after. The humans stopped the Kreshava completely. He turned to face Gia directly. We feared you. Our children's stories made you into monsters. But when monsters came to our world, you drove them away. You showed us what real monsters look like, and you showed us what heroes look like. A representative from Thessa Prime stood, the same reptilian who had argued against humanity 3 weeks ago. I must confess my shame. I called humans predators. I said they were not civilized. I was wrong. I measured civilization by technology and peace. But true civilization is measured by sacrifice, by honor, by choosing to help even when there is no benefit. More representatives stood. One by one they spoke. Some apologized. Some thanked humanity. Some wept openly. The crystalline being from Velstar floated forward. I studied the battle recordings. The human fleet was outnumbered 20-1. Any other species would have retreated. But humans advanced. Why? Dr. Bora stepped forward.
May I answer that?
Velnith nodded. Bora's voice was soft but clear. Because retreating meant that Talvini would die. We could not allow that. Not if we had any power to stop it. But you barely knew the Talvini, the crystalline being said. You had no cultural connection. No trade agreements. No alliances. Why die for strangers? Because they needed help, Bora replied simply. On Earth, survival meant cooperation. Humans alone die quickly, but humans together survive anything. Over time, we learned that everyone could be part of the group. Everyone could be family. You do not abandon family, ever. Officer Sung spoke up. There is a word in Korean, Jong. It means a deep emotional connection that develops between people, not just friends or family. Anyone, we share food, we share hardship, we share life. That connection becomes unbreakable. When the Talvini called for help, they became part of our Jong. Even though they feared you? Velnith asked. Especially because they feared us, Sung said. Fear means they did not understand us. We wanted to show them who we really are, not through words. Through actions. The Thessan representative approached Gia. Commander, I must ask a difficult question. Your Captain Hyun. He knew the attack would kill him. Why did he not retreat? Gia was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. Captain Hyun lost his family 5 years ago. He had no children, no wife, no siblings. He was alone. But he told me once that humanity was his family now. All of it. And that family extended to anyone who needed help. He died protecting his family. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. Captain Hyun recorded this before his final attack. He asked me to share it if he did not survive. Velnith activated the main display. Captain Hyun's face appeared, calm despite the chaos of battle visible behind him. My name is Captain Hyun of Earth. If you are watching this, I am dead. I am probably not the only one. Good people died today. Human and Talvini both. That makes me sad. But I am not sorry. We did what needed to be done. He glanced at something off-screen, then back. I want to tell you what I learned on Earth. My planet tried to kill me every day. Storms, earthquakes, disease, predators. I should have died 1,000 times. But I did not. You know why? Because other humans helped me. My mother taught me to survive. My father taught me to fight. My friends taught me to hope. I am alive because humans do not let each other die alone. The ship shook around him. He grabbed the console to steady himself but kept talking. The galaxy thinks humans are dangerous. You are right. We are dangerous. We evolved on a world that made us tough, strong, hard to kill. But Earth also made us loyal, made us protective, made us willing to die for others. That is what it means to be human. We protect the pack. Everyone is the pack. Another explosion. Hyun smiled slightly. I have to go now. I have a command ship to destroy. To whoever finds this message, remember something. Fear is natural, but so is courage, so is sacrifice, so is love. We all have a choice about which one we listen to. Today I chose courage. I chose sacrifice. I chose love for people I never met. That is what humans do. That is what we will always do. He saluted the camera. We are human. We come from a world that tried to kill us for 200,000 years. We survived by protecting each other. Today the pack extends to the stars. Today, everyone is our pack. Today, no one dies alone. Out, the message ended. The chamber was silent. Several representatives were openly crying. Even the crystalline being's surface was clouded with emotion. Velnith stood and bowed to Gia. It was a human gesture, adopted to show respect. Commander, the Galactic Council has voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately. All quarantine restrictions are lifted. Humans may travel freely among the stars. The chamber erupted in applause, but Gia held up her hand. The human delegation thanks the council, but we have conditions. Velnith looked surprised. Conditions? Yes, we do not want special treatment. We want to earn our place. So we propose the following. First, humanity will not expand beyond our current borders for 10 years. We will prove we are responsible neighbors, she continued. Second, we offer to train a joint galactic military force. The Kresheva proved that the galaxy has threats it cannot handle alone. We will teach your soldiers what we know, not to make them killers, but to make them survivors. Third, we want to establish cultural exchange programs. Let humans live among your people. Let your people live among us. Let us learn from each other. Fear comes from ignorance. We want to remove that ignorance. Velnith considered this, then nodded. The council accepts these conditions. They are wise, generous, very human. The meeting continued for hours. Treaties were discussed. Trade agreements were proposed. But the real change was something deeper. The galaxy was no longer afraid of humans. They saw humans as partners, protectors, friends. After the session, Elder Rilvine approached Gia privately. Commander, I have something for you. From my people. He handed her a small box. Inside was a seed from Talvine. This is a Talvini memory tree. It grows slowly, but it lives for 1,000 years. We have planted one for each human who died saving us. 1,847 trees. We will tend them forever, and when they bloom we will remember. Gia accepted the seed with both hands. Thank you. We will plant this on Earth, so humans remember too. What will humans remember? That sacrifice matters. That courage has meaning. That being human is not about being strong or tough. It is about choosing to help even when it is hard. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs everything. Rilvine's bioluminescence glowed bright. That is a good thing to remember. 6 months later, Gia stood on Earth in Busan Memorial Park. The park overlooked the ocean where Captain Hyun had been born. A monument had been built here, listing every name of every human who died at Talvin. At the top of the monument was Captain Hyun's final message, carved in stone. Below it, 1,847 names, and at the base the Talvini memory tree had been planted. It was small now, but it would grow. Families came to visit. Parents showed their children the names, told them stories about the sacrifice, about courage, about what it meant to be human. A young girl, maybe 7 years old, tugged on Gia's sleeve. Are you Commander Gia? Yes. My teacher said you fought with Captain Hyun, that you helped save the Talvini. I did. Were you scared? Gia knelt down to the child's level. Yes, I was very scared. We all were, but you went anyway. Yes, why? Gia thought about how to explain it. Because someone needed help. And we could help. When you can help and you choose not to, you stop being human. You become something less. The girl considered this seriously. When I grow up, I want to be like Captain Hyun.